The Bible tells us that baptism is one of the most essential teachings of Jesus and his apostles. Christadelphians, just like members of the early first century church, believe baptism is a key teaching. Consider the fact that the Apostle Paul tells us that baptism into Christ allows us to become members of God's special family and beneficiaries of his amazing promises. The importance of baptism is underscored when we think about the last moments of Jesus' life here on earth. Just before he ascended to heaven, Jesus met with his remaining 11 apostles, and he told them to go into the world to preach the good news. Jesus then said, "Whoever believes and is baptized will be saved, but whoever does not believe will be condemned." The early Christians obeyed Jesus' command to preach the gospel, and the book of Acts emphasizes how immediately people entered the waters of baptism after accepting the good news. In each and every one of these cases, baptism always followed belief. For example, the scriptures never describe infants being baptized. Remember, Jesus said, "Whoever believes and is baptized will be saved." So belief or faith is critical, and this faith should motivate each of us to obey Christ's command to be baptized. Baptism then is really the first step of obedience to the gospel message. Now, baptism is more than just a ritual. It's an act of faith where we openly associate ourselves with Jesus' own death and resurrection. In Romans 6, baptism is likened to being buried and raised to life again. Because of this, the Bible always describes people being fully immersed in water when they were baptized. Symbolically, this is important. You see, going under the water symbolizes our intent to put a previous life of sin to death in the grave. And coming up out of the water then connects us to the hope of the resurrection. At baptism, all our previous sins and failings are washed away, and we begin a joyful new life in Christ. Our new life after baptism should be one where we try to kill sin in our lives just as we did in symbol when we were baptized to join God's family. The crucifixion of our sinful ways is an ongoing process which merely begins at baptism. The Bible tells us to take up our cross each day. And while this can sometimes be difficult, the promised reward is very great indeed.